2024 was a year of profound connection and transformation.
Through countless events, outreach opportunities, weekly ministries, and life groups, God moved powerfully within our church family. Here are some highlights from this incredible year.
We celebrated over 140 salvations and 50 baptisms, witnessing lives transformed and our church family growing stronger.
We began the year with Vision Sunday, introducing The Way as our theme and launching the Jesus Way Life Group Night to build community around this vision.
In January, our first United Winter Retreat brought middle and high schoolers together at Lost Creek Camp for worship, growth, and connection.
March brought our annual men's retreat at Washington Family Ranch, along with a mental health summit focused on hope, health, and healing.
In April, during our spring This City, My City outreach, we served the community by cleaning up over 35 tons of trash, offering prayer, and supporting those in need.
We honored Jesus' sacrifice and resurrection during Good Friday and Easter services, uniting in reflection and celebration.
This summer marked the 17th year of our summer internship program, offering college students hands-on ministry experience.
We kicked off the summer season with our summer kickoff event, leading into Vacation Bible School, where our YFC kids discovered the life-changing news of Jesus.
Later in the summer, we sent a missions team to Hawaii and hosted transformative summer camps for preteens, middle schoolers, and high schoolers.
In August, we served Eisenhower High School and Robertson Elementary during our fall This City, My City outreach, supporting teachers and preparing classrooms for a new school year.
In September, we launched our second life group night, Relationships the Jesus Way, while our young adults ministry hosted one of its many powerful worship nights.
October brought our annual fall festival.
Our youth group united for nights of worship, fellowship, and growing in faith at our United Youth Nights.
In November, we gathered for a night of worship to give thanks as the holiday season began and celebrated our incredible volunteers with an Italian-themed volunteer celebration.
Finally, we wrapped up the year with the Gift to the World and our annual Mexico missions trip, ending 2024 on a high note.
God's faithfulness has been evident throughout this year, and we are filled with anticipation for all He has in store for 2025.
Well, hey everyone, welcome to Church at Home. You know, it really has been an incredible year. Like, it's always weird to get to this time of year and look back at over everything that has happened in the year. And there's some things that happened this last year that we feel like, oh man, that just felt like it just happened 2 days ago. Where there's other things that have happened that we think, man, it feels like it's been 5 years since that thing happened. It's just like a crazy time of the year. And then we're also sitting here at this place getting ready to start something new, right? Like 2025 is right around the corner. We're sitting here with wonder and excitement, being hopeful for what may be. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you'll notice that this year looks a little different than it has in the past. And next year could look different again. This is just where we're at. But our hope with this year's Church at Home is to create space to reflect and space to dream. I want us to remember what this year has been before we start engaging with what 2025 is going to look like. You know, in Matthew's gospel, Matthew records a sermon that Jesus gave to his disciples on the side of a mountain where these crowds had gathered. And in this message, known as the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus teaches on a lot of different things, right? He covers evangelism, he covers murder, he covers adultery and divorce and keeping oaths. It's within this message that you get those famous teachings like, you know, turn the other cheek and love your enemies. We learn how to pray, right? The Lord's Prayer. How do we store up treasures in heaven, not here on earth, and not worrying about tomorrow because, you know, tomorrow can worry about itself. But if you've never read Matthew 5-7, you should spend significant time diving into the words of Jesus in this message. But it was in the closing statements of this message that I want us to focus on today. Jesus continues his message in chapter 7, talking about not judging others and this invitation to ask of the Lord and see what he will do. Seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. And then he gives a clear picture of the reality that is following the way. This whole year, that is exactly what we have focused on. How do we, as proclaimed Christians, actually follow the way of Jesus? So I want to recap a little of where we have been. You know, we started this year going through the Gospel of John. John was one of the 12 disciples. He was self-proclaimed as the disciple who Jesus loved. He was very close to Jesus, one of the three closest with Peter and James. However, later in his life, John wrote out a detailed account of the life of Jesus, creating an opportunity for all of us who would read it to get a glimpse into who Jesus is and why he is worth following. It was his introduction to the way of Jesus. After John's gospel, we looked at the characteristics of Jesus' goodness, his tov, how we should live our lives in the way of goodness by showing empathy and grace and putting other people first, by being justice-driven and service-driven and being people of truth, ultimately painting the picture of what it means to be Christ-like. We follow that up with an in-depth look at the way of rest and how being a follower of the way of Jesus means not being a follower of the way of the world. That is a way of hurry that surrounds us, but being someone with margins and the ability to actually rest well and Sabbath well. After rest, we studied 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John and the repeated themes of love and truth and obedience. And then we focus on our faith, right? Talking about how faith of the head and faith of the heart and the faith of the hand should work together in the way of Jesus. And this fall, we spent time studying the way of Yahweh, our Creator God, and the attributes that he proclaimed of himself in Exodus 34, leading into then the way of suffering, learning the lessons of Jesus through the hills and the valleys of our life. Now, we've just got through the holiday season with an awesome gift to the world and Christmas services, but I want to just restate this all quickly to you because this year is a lot like Jesus' message in Matthew 5 through 7. We covered a lot. Just like Jesus covered a lot in the message, we covered a lot in this year. And one of the last things that Jesus says in his Sermon on the Mount, I believe, is for us as well as we close out this year of following the way. In Matthew 7, verse 13, it says, "So enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate, and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it." Do you know what would be easy? It'd be to take all that we have learned about Jesus and his way this year and just say, yeah, I'm good. Right? Like, wouldn't that just be easy not to even worry about living a life worthy of the call, or where we can just, live a life that is rushed, a life that is self-centered, a life where we can just do whatever we want or whatever feels good. We could just let our emotions get the best of us and live aimlessly, not caring about those around us. That would be easy. Now, I know that's all a little extreme, right? But we normally play in both of these fields a little bit. We like parts of the way of Jesus and parts of the way of the world. But as we close out this year of following the way, hear this. Wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. Maybe you've heard it before, but the easy way is not always the best way, right? The easy way is wide. Much of the world is on the easy way, but what does that way lead to? Destruction. We've spent this year talking about the way, the Jesus way, the narrow way, which Jesus says leads to life. See, following the way of Jesus is actually a life and death decision, but most of us don't treat it that way. As we close out this year of talking about the way, my encouragement to you is this: take the narrow way. Be willing to walk out the hard road because your eternity is worth it. But let me also encourage you with this. As you try, you will fail. You're like, that's not really that encouraging. I know. But hear me on this. You will fall short. But the Jesus way is about creating a lifeline every time you fall off the narrow road to get back on. If you remember back to the Yahweh series, he is compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness, and forgiving wickedness, rebellion, and sin. He forgives our rebellion when we walk off the narrow way. He gives us an opportunity to get back on, to not that path of destruction, but the pathway to life. So if you're currently finding yourself on the wide road, if you're not living your life surrendered to the way of Jesus, I encourage you to take up the hand of forgiveness that has been offered to you. Leave your rebellion and walk in the way. John Mark Comer, in his book, Practicing the Way, gives this final appeal. He says, if you want to embark on this journey of a lifetime, then you must first daily hold before your mind and imagination the beauty and possibility of a life in the kingdom of God. He says to fill your heart with the wonder of the person and the gospel and the life of Jesus Christ. To read and reread the Gospels, pour over each story, turn your mind over to him in prayer. He says, and once you do that, he says, now begin. He says, right where you are, take one small step immediately toward him. Last year at this time, as a junior in high school, a young lady in our church named Ellie decided that she was going to take her faith seriously. As 2024 started, she was going to go to church every opportunity that she had. She even watched online on the Sundays that she couldn't make it in. She also made a commitment that she was going to read her Bible and journal every single day. And guess what? She's done it. She's taking steps down the narrow road. I talked to her last month and she shared how impactful this has been for her this year. That she's graduating this coming June, she's now a senior and she's heading off to college with a renewed vision for her future and her life, all because she chose to walk the narrow way. Now, did she stumble along the way? Probably. At least a little, right? Did she go through hard times? Yeah, absolutely. But she kept the wonder of Jesus and his kingdom in front of her mind. She is an example as a senior in high school, as a 17-year-old, of what this could look like for us. She can be an example for us to live out the way in the same way that she has chosen to. At this time, Mari, Zach, and Austin are going to lead us into a special piece of music called The Narrow Way. And as we go into this, I want you to consider your choice. Are you willing to walk it out? Are you willing to forgo what may be easy, forgo what may be pleasurable, forgo what may bring you great success to walk down the narrow way? I am, and I hope you will join me in that as well. Listen to the words of this song.
Lead me, Lord, lead me. Keep me, oh, keep me from wandering. Help me, Lord, help me. Teach me, oh, teach me your suffering. I will walk the narrow way, the only road that will lead to life, and I will stay the narrow way to see the face of the one I love. Lead me, Lord, lead me. Keep me, oh, keep me from wandering. Lord, help me. Help me, Lord, help me. Teach me, oh, teach me your suffering, and I will walk the narrow way, the only road that will lead to life, and I will stay the narrow way to see the face of the one I Jesus, only you. There is nothing in this life worth the cost of losing you. No, is it even sacrifice if I trade the world for you? Oh, you're the treasure, you're the prize, Jesus, only you. There is nothing in this life worth the cost of losing you. Is it even sacrifice if I trade the world for you? Oh, you're the treasure, you're the prize, Jesus, only you. I will walk and I will walk the narrow way, the only road that will lead to life. I will stay the narrow way to see the face of the one I love, and I will walk the narrow way, the only road that will lead to life, and I will stay the narrow way to see the face of the one I love, and I will walk the narrow way, the only road that will lead to life, and I will stay the narrow way to see the face of the one I love, the one I love.
Give me Jesus. Give me Jesus. You can have all this world. You can have all this world. And give me Jesus. Just give me Jesus.
For joining us in that time of reflection and worship. We hope that that time was meaningful to you. As we begin to bring our time together to a close today, I want to encourage you to stay engaged for a few minutes. We actually planned Church at Home to be a little bit shorter so that you could stay and engage. Now, on your screen in just a moment, we're going to have some reflection questions that we would love for you to begin to process. If you are watching this as a group, maybe with family or friends, we want to invite you to take the next little bit of time and process out loud with one another. If you're watching Church at Home alone, I want to invite you to spend some time pondering these questions and maybe even journaling your response. We believe that there is a beauty in the reality that we have the opportunity to engage in God's word and listen to his voice when he speaks to us, whether we're inside of a church building or not. So our hope for this time is that if you don't already have an established rhythm of what it looks like to sit with Jesus, that this time of processing and engagement would help you establish a pattern of what that could look like in your life this coming year. Please feel free to take as much time as you would like with these questions. And when you are done, my encouragement would be, would you close your time of prayer together as a group? With that said, I also want to invite you all to join us next week back in the building here in person for our 2025 Vision Sunday. We have been prayerfully preparing and are so excited for what God is doing in and through Yakima Foursquare Church and what he's going to do in this coming year. We believe that the word of the year that he has given us is timely and powerful. I promise you, you're not going to want to miss it. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We love this church. We love this community, and we love the people in it. We hope that you have a very happy new year, and we will see you next week.